Hey everyone, it was great meeting you at the first Biology 2310 meeting for this semester. So sorry that we had problems with the computer and the projector. We're actually working on getting that fixed right now. But in the meantime, I put together a video talking about how to access iCollege, how to get to lab archives, and also where you're going to find the syllabus and the schedule, things of that nature, things that I think you need to know and the students need to know for the first week. I also talked a little bit about the upcoming assignments and things that are due, like the safety trainings. So if you have any questions after this video, please feel free to contact me or another TA to get additional information, especially for many of you that are new here. I want to make sure that you feel supported and have all the information that you need so that you'll have a successful first week. I'm confident all of you are going to do great. So go ahead and watch this video, and if you have any questions, let us know. Okay, so here's how you access iCollege and the syllabus and other things for 2310. This is just an introduction. It will not include all the information you need to know, but we'll talk about that later on in the semester. So start out by going to Georgia State's website, and you can click on Students. Over here, you're going to see the link to iCollege. So go ahead and click that, and then log into iCollege. When you click on this, it's going to give you a page where you can put in your credentials. I've already signed in, so I'm just going to go to that. When you first log into iCollege, you're going to see all of your courses, including classes that you're taking yourself. But there's a fairly good chance that you're not going to see the fundamental microbiology lab that you're teaching. In my case, I see a lot of course ended. So let's go down here to view all courses, and in there you want to find a course. So I've already done the search term, fundamental microbiology lab. So let's see what we find. For me, I'm going to see all of the lab sections, but for you, you're only going to see the lab section that you've been assigned. For today's demo, I'm just going to show you lab section 003. Okay, so this is the fundamental microbiology lab page that your students will see as well. You're going to see a couple more options because you have administrative access and you'll be inputting grades, but for the most part, a lot of this is going to look the same for the students. So you have the announcements here. You can add additional announcements if you want, and it'll look somewhat like this. And then older announcements you'll find on the bottom here as well. So students already have access. They can see the lab coat requirements and then also the welcome note. So you'll also have a content browser on the right side, kind of show you different content that's in 2310. But I personally like clicking on this content button here. It gives you a bigger outlook. Okay, so here on the left side, you're going to see a bunch of different options, a lot of which don't really apply to us right now. But it is good to go through each one of these and just get an idea of what's there and be familiar in case students ask you where to find things. So right now we're at the table of contents. So I'm going to go ahead and click on course schedule and syllabus. So when you're talking to the students on Monday, you want to show them where they find the course schedule and the syllabus. So over here you have, for instance, the link to the course syllabus, and you also have a link to the schedule and link to the syllabus. The schedule will just show up on a Google Calendar, and you can see, for instance, down here on the 26th, we have syllabus review and introduction to the course and the first day of class. Of course, if you're a Tuesday, Thursday, that is going to start on the 27th. And as you go on to the next month, you're going to see additional things that are on the calendar, kind of what things are due. For instance, the article analysis summary that's due on September 1st and so on. So if anyone asks you questions about where do you find when things are due and whatnot, this is a good page to go to. So I'm going to navigate out of that and let's click back here. Let me show you the syllabus. I'm not going to go into detail about the syllabus right at the moment, but this is where you'll find it. We'll return back to that later. Going back to this here. Okay, so now the students will also have to complete different safety assignments. For instance, they have the syllabus and safety quiz. So you want to have them click on that after they've read, for instance, the laboratory safety guide, hand hygiene, after they've gone through the syllabus. So then as far as safety assessments here, they're going to need to complete all these, and then they'll also have to complete the right to know training. So they'll click on this link here and it'll bring them to just a short module that will give them a printout or a PDF. They have to save it as a PDF, and they need to complete all these three: right to know, bloodborne pathogen training, and hazardous waste awareness. The instructions here tell them how to upload it, and later on you can see if they've completed the trainings. They're going to get a certificate at the end, and that will be available for you to see. Okay, so just make sure to tell the students complete the syllabus and safety quiz, and also complete this Board of Regents training that they have to complete. Students are also required to have the electronic notebook, so we use a service called Lab Archives. So when the student clicks on that link, and please ask them to navigate to Lab Archives through iCollege. If they just type in Lab Archives on the internet, they won't get the unique link that we have here so that they can get to their particular section. So you see over here, this is linking to section 003. For students, it will cost them $15 to use this laboratory notebook. For you as a TA, you do not have to pay the $15. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Felicia will give you an email with a link or something of that nature, but we can address that at a later point. They won't need the notebook quite yet, but definitely tell the students to go ahead and sign up and get their laboratory notebook now. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so then there's other things like the gram stain lab report. They don't need to worry about that now, but they do have an article assignment coming up, so let's click on this. So that article assignment, it's based off of this right here. So let's go ahead and click on the 10 simple rules. So they're going to go ahead and read this paper, and then the students need to go ahead and make an analysis or a summary. And remember, they can't do bullet points or anything like that. So then they're going to have to upload that, and it's due on September 1st at 11:30 p.m. So you can see the due dates and times over here as well. So there are other things in the class as well, like protocol challenges, and those protocol challenges will show them how to accomplish different techniques like microscopy, aseptic technique, gram staining, dilutions, and so on. So this is going to be the training portion where they kind of learn how different microbiology techniques work and they understand the concepts behind it. We have the protocols and background information for all these different modules that we'll be going over. And then after they've completed several weeks of going through modules and learning how to do these different techniques, then they're going to have their unknown project. And the unknown, let me see if I can navigate to that real quick. Okay, unknown project. So essentially what that is, we give the students an unknown microorganism, and they're going to use the techniques that they learned in the protocol challenges to identify the unknown microorganism. So for example, we give them a tube of something, they don't know what it is. Maybe they do serial dilutions to start out with, and then perhaps they'll do an isolation streak, and after that they can do gram staining, and then they'll follow that with microbiological media tests. Maybe they can do antibiotic resistant testing with a Kirby-Bauer disc diffusion, things like that. So that's what the unknown project is. So the first part of the semester they're learning all these techniques, and then later on we're going to give them an unknown, and then they're going to go ahead and use the techniques they learned to identify what they have. Now, this class has a dichotomous key that we've created, and this dichotomous key essentially shows you all the different microorganisms that they could potentially have, and they're going to have to follow the dichotomous key and use the specific test in order to determine what they have. Now, you never want to tell students what microorganisms they were given. You want to make sure that this is just completely blind to them and they're going through it strictly based off of what are their observations, what tests did they use, things like that. But that's not going to come until later on in the semester, so I'm not going to burden you with too much information. Just know that we have an unknown project that the students will do. Okay, so let's see what else we have. Grading rubrics. So we have the grading rubrics for different assignments here. So as an assignment comes due, just go into this area here and you're going to find a rubric, which will show you how you grade different assignments. And we'll talk about that in our meetings as well, on just in order to give you practice on how to grade things. Over here we have the PowerPoints. So we have the lab report, do's and don'ts PowerPoint, effective scientific presentations, and other ones. And you'll see based on the calendar which one would be appropriate for that week. Obviously, if you're doing serial dilutions that week, you want to use this one. I would suggest downloading these PowerPoints to a flash drive or something of that nature so that you can save it onto the computer just in the odd chance that the internet might not be working. And we also have supplemental resources here. So please go ahead and just click on all these different options within the content browser of iCollege and just familiarize yourself with it so that you'll know where to point the students in case they have questions. And also ask your co-TA and other TAs as well if you have questions. And of course you can ask me too. I'll do my best to help you out. So let's go ahead now and move over to the syllabus and we can talk about the syllabus for a moment. Okay, so click on course schedule and syllabus, and then let's go to the syllabus down here. All right, so the syllabus for Biology 2310 is online. It's literally just, I think it's hosted on Google or something of that nature. So let's click on learning objectives. You can see these are the learning objectives, and you can read this yourself. Just make sure that you know this, so that when you're talking to the students on Monday or Tuesday, that you know these are our goals this semester. This is what we want to accomplish. Now, as far as grading, let me pull that up. It looks like the internet's a little slow at the moment. But grading will be in iCollege. So all the assignments are in iCollege. And the points have already been assigned to different assignments. So, for instance, let's say the methods to final lab report assignment, those points are already maxed out at 50 in iCollege. So you just input whatever they earn based on the rubric. But let's talk about this page here real quick. Grading. So they have professionalism. They can earn a maximum of 100 points, and the way it works is that they start out with 100 points in professionalism, and with every infraction you then remove points from that, so everybody actually starts out with 100. For the rest of these, they start at 0 and have to earn their way up. So we have different challenges that they need to complete. We can talk about that another time. They have the article analysis and summary that we discussed. That's worth up to 20 points, and based on what they get out of your grading, they can earn up to 20 points. We have 5 quizzes, total points, 50 points for that. They have the Gramstein report and the peer review as well. That's worth 60. Experimental design outline, the weekly group plan of action reports. So essentially what that is, the students will fill out a plan of action showing like what have they accomplished this week, what do they need to accomplish next week, essentially to show that we know, or to show that they know what they're doing and they're heading in some kind of a meaningful direction. And we have a worksheet for that we'll give you. The group member evaluations, that's just the group members going to evaluate each other kind of toward the end of the semester. We have an introduction for the final lab report. It's separated, so it's essentially like one big lab report, but we've just separated it into one assignment is just the introduction, another assignment is just the methods and the results, and then you're going to give feedback for the introduction, methods, and results, and then they'll submit a final lab report. And on this one, you really hope that they went ahead and took your feedback. If they don't, they're just going to lose points. But that's what that is. And they have a final group presentation where they present their project based on the unknown that they had and the scenarios that they were given, and a final exam worth 100 points. I could go into more detail, but I'm going to avoid that because it's just not necessary right now. We can talk about it as we get closer. As far as their final letter grade, here's the breakdown. So A+ is 960 points and above. People needing to keep up their scholarships, 810, usually B or B+, 870 points is what they need to earn. They can look through that themselves. And for the professional laboratory professionalism grade, here is the category of non-compliance and how many points they're deducted. So please familiarize yourself with this so that when you see something, you can appropriately deduct points, and that the students will know that this is what you're working off of. One thing to keep in mind is that you want to have some way of recording this where it's not just in your mind, So I would suggest on the sign-in sheet or whatever you choose, whenever a student does something that they're not supposed to do, maybe inappropriate clothing, go ahead and dock those points, -10, just put it beside their name. And that way you're going to have a record based on their name and on that particular day. Okay, so for assignments, they have the syllabus and safety quiz, safety training. It just talks a little bit more about it. Professionalism, group plan of action reports. This is a great place to go if you want to read more about the different components of this laboratory. Of course, the electronic notebook. This gives them an idea of what to expect, the writing instructions, and how important documentation is for the electronic notebook. Just as a reminder, that's the lab archives that I showed you. We didn't go into lab archives. I just showed you the sign-in page just because that's still being set up right now. And then the general policies tab. When you're talking to the students on Monday or Tuesday, you want to explain to them attendance. It's mandatory, and they can only miss one lab without penalty. Any more, and they're going to start losing points. I believe it's like 10 points per lab that they miss beyond that point. Now, you want to make sure to mention that if they have a university excused absence, that's okay. But as much as they can, they need to tell us ahead of time. And things that you would consider, for instance, a religious holiday, they need to tell us that ahead of time so that Dr. Maxwell can approve that. If an individual has a disability, then they need to give us documentation from the appropriate department so that we can make accommodations for them as well. So we need to know those things kind of in the first week. So please ask the students to just let you know if they have any foreseeable thing in the future that's university approved that you're going to need to be aware of for their attendance. So students are expected to arrive on time. If they're more than 10 minutes late, is counted as an absence. And I'm not going to go through all of this, but I just want you to go through and please be familiar. Just know they have to be in their official section. Guests are not allowed in the lab. And as we stressed today, and we're going to continue to stress, late assignments and emailed submissions are not accepted. Not at all. If there's some really strange situation that you believe deserves to be an exception, it needs to be passed by myself and Felicia, and it also needs to be heavily documented. So if somebody was in a car accident or something of that nature, we need to see the appropriate paperwork and proof that this actually happened. The students need to be civil, of course. Campus carry, they need to know the regulations surrounding that. References, all citations need to follow the APA style guide. And all lab reports must include citations. I believe it's going to be around the week of Labor Day. We will have the writing consultants come in and they'll talk more about references and plagiarism. Students do need to have computer literacy. I've had some students in the past that really struggled in that area, and you just need to gracefully point them in the right direction to get the resources and the help that they need. Just because somebody doesn't know how to upload something is not an excuse. They need to go go talk to a friend or talk to somebody, but they can't just say, I want to turn things in with by paper just because I don't know how to use a computer. That's not an excuse in the year 2019. So we're going to have a final comprehensive exam, and they'll need to prepare for that. So, and then as far as incomplete, this kind of explains how incompletes work. And if they want to request to consider grade adjustments, they can look through this whole process here. And all course material is found online. So keep in mind, no other study guide will be provided. You are not required to give them a study guide. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a link here for disability services. So if a student needs accommodation, we'll do our best to accommodate them, but we do need to have official documentation from disability services. So graduate teaching assistants, I just want to highlight here, you have full authority in the lab, so use good judgment. Do not let students treat you poorly. If they do, talk to one of us and we will help you navigate. As far as laboratory safety, it's very important to stress laboratory safety. The microorganisms that we're using are in keeping with the lab being a BSL-1 laboratory. So you can read more about that over here, but it's really important to stress, no eating food, no drinking from any container, chewing gum, things of that nature, because we don't want people getting sick. So if you would please go over this page and read it at length, just so that you know what our laboratory safety policy is. All right, I cut off a little bit of the end of that video just because it's about contacting your TA, being yourself, for the students, and also contacting Dr. Maxwell, things that you already know. But anyhow, I hope that this information helped answer some questions, but if you have any more questions, feel free to ask. I'm glad to help you out. I just want to make sure that everyone has all the resources that they need for a successful first week. I wish you all the best, and I'm confident you're going to do a great job.